And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is my match reaction, my 5 takeaways from Fulham's 3-1 victory against Sheffield United on Saturday at Craven Cottage. A huge 3 points for Fulham Football Club that has them at 12th in the league, 11 points right now so far in the Premier League. Not bad. So huge 3 points. They needed the 3 points. They got it done. A lot to talk about in the next 10 to 15 minutes of this match reaction show. Like I said, I'll give you my 5 takeaways from this victory. Do want to mention, I always call myself out, so I'm going to call myself out here. I was wrong when I thought that Anthony Robinson would not play in this match. I was going off of reports here in the U.S. because he was not participating in the upcoming U.S. men's national team matches. And it was reportedly because of an injury, basically the beginning stages of an injury. And that's why he was not going to be playing. So what I did was I assumed that he would not be playing for Fulham today, even though Marco Silva at his presser on Friday said there were no new updates in regards to injured players. So I should have really listened to that a little bit more instead of assuming, because we know what happens when you assume. And I got this one wrong. So I wanted to call myself out for getting this one wrong in regards to Anthony Robinson. He played today. That's number one. And as I mentioned, very happy that Fulham got all 3 points. And I think they really needed this victory. Stabilizes their situation in the Premier League. If they lost this match, I think it would have been a really bad step in the wrong direction. This gets us a little bit further out in 8 matches from the relegation zone. I don't want to be talking about that this season. I want Fulham, even though I want Fulham to be more ambitious, I would like them to be a mid-table club if they're not going to be a team that's going to be contending for Europe. I don't want them to be anywhere near the relegation places. So for me, this was a step away from that. Very good victory for Fulham Football Club against a team that I knew was going to be difficult, with a formation that I knew would give them trouble. But I have to give a lot of credit to the players and Marco Silva and the way they approach this game, and I'll be talking about that in this episode. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help Fulham supporters find us. So let's start with number 5. And I want to give a shout out to Marco Silva because I wanted to see what Marco would do and what his approach would be. And, well, let's just say he shook things up. My number 5, Marco shakes it up with his starting 11. And I wasn't sure he was going to do this, but you know what? He's done this before. He did this last season when Fulham went to go play Everton. He did change things up. He didn't start Raul Jimenez. Instead, he also tweaked with a formation, and he played more of a 4-3-3. So he has Carlos Vinicius up front, Bobby Decordova-Reid on one side, Willian on the other. And in the middle, this was interesting, he has Paulinho as really your defensive midfielder and Iwobi and Pereira more as your attacking midfielders. So that's what was interesting about this. Like I said, you really had one defensive midfielder. Instead of having Reed and Paulinho basically doing those jobs kind of in unison, you had more Pereira and Iwobi being more of attacking threats. Then you have Castagna playing for the injured Tete. Robinson plays as your left back, and I wasn't expecting that, but he did play. But the big change was to have Carlos Vinicius up front. And I think that made a difference in Fulham's approach in this match. Along with starting Alex Iwobi, I thought that was a positive move as well. So, again, his decision, his ability to change things up, I'm very happy he did that, and I think it played a role in this match. So that's why that's my number 5. Number 4, and this is a unfortunate number 4. It is injuries for both teams were ugly, very ugly for both teams. Chris Basham gets injured, and that was just horrible. It was a horrible injury, and apparently it looks like he broke his ankle, and I wish him only the best moving forward, but this was a very bad injury for Sheffield United. On the other side, Issa Diop got injured as well, and according to reports, Marco said after the match that something to do with his foot, and I'm paraphrasing, it doesn't look good. So we'll have to see what happens with Issa Diop. So both teams dealt with injuries. In fact, Fulham's injury in that situation led to the goal from Sheffield United. I want to wish, like I said, Basham a quick recovery. Same thing for Issa Diop. I hope he's okay. We'll see what happens on that. But both teams suffered ugly injuries. And that's why that is my number 4. Number 3, and I believe this has been in my 5 takeaways before, so this is not a new one, but this is an important one. Number 3, Timothy Castagna continues to make it difficult for Kenny Tete when he is healthy to return. What's great about watching Castagna is that at some point, he might beat out Kenny Tete as your starting right back. He came in with a lot of Premier League experience, international experience, and he really is doing a great job defensively, but moving forward, not as, I would say, as quick maybe as Kenny Tete, but his crossing of the ball is great. His link-up play is great. And overall, I thought he played great. There's no drop-off when Kenny Tete doesn't play. That's what's great about this. But Timothy Castagna continues to try to make that position his own. Let's just call it what it is. Because with his play, I'm not saying he's trying to beat out Kenny Tete, but if he keeps playing like this, he's going to make it difficult for Tete. So for me, this is huge, knowing that you can count on Kenny Tete having a replacement with Timothy Castagna. And maybe he ends up being the starter. Last season, we had the situation with Kevin and Babu, and that was a liability. Now you have a player that can step right in with no drop-off, absolutely no drop-off, and at times really at the same level, maybe even a little better in some things. So shout out to Timothy Castagna. That's why you are my number 3 takeaway. Number 2, and again, here's a player proving me wrong, and it's Willian. So number 2, Willian continues to turn back time, scored a great goal, but he actually played very well in this match. And I was one that was thinking maybe his time has come. Maybe these types of performances were far and few between. Well, he proved me wrong in this match, because if he can continue to churn out performances like this, then he'll continue to play and play well, hopefully at this level. I want to see him continue to play at this level. This was a very good performance from Willian. Really nice goal, but overall, it's so good to see him basically prove me wrong. I want the players to prove me wrong. I absolutely do. I want Tim Ream to prove me wrong. I think against a team like Sheffield United and not a team like Chelsea, I think it's a different situation. So I think he can still thrive against teams lower in the league. The question will be, can he do it against the Manchester Uniteds, the Cities, the Chelseas? That's going to be the trick. Honestly, same thing with Tim Ream. I think that they can do it against the teams around Fulham and lower than Fulham. Can they continue to play at a high level, the teams that are above Fulham? That we're going to have to wait and see. But just a kudos to William. He played great, and he did turn back time in this match. Coming up next is my number 1 takeaway for this 3-1 victory for Fulham against Sheffield United. Okay, so my number 1 takeaway from this match is simple as this. When I did my preview of this match, I said Fulham needed to be aggressive. They needed to move the ball quick. They needed to create a lot of opportunities on set pieces. They needed to do all this to beat a team that plays this formation that was going to make it difficult on you. And they passed the test. My number one takeaway from this victory is Fulham's aggressive approach from the start set the tone for the entire match. They were aggressive from the get-go. They came out of the blocks fast. They took it to Sheffield United. They created several opportunities. They were not as clinical as I would like them to be the first half. I was concerned that they did not get a goal in the first half. But the aggressive approach eventually paid off in the second half with 3 goals. Great goal from Bobby Decordova-Reid. I want to give Tom Kearney credit as well. I know it's an own goal, but I've heard it called a free goal, whatever. He still took the shot. It went in the back of the net off the goalkeeper. Who cares? It's a goal. And then, of course, you have the goal from William. So, but again, it's an aggressive approach. Even Tom Kearney's goal, it's an aggressive approach. But it started from the time that the match began. This is what they needed to do. They couldn't be conservative against this team. They needed to be aggressive. And they absolutely were. And this is the approach that they need to take against all teams, not just the teams at the bottom of the table, but your Chelseas, your Manchester Uniteds. This is Marco Silva's approach. This victory had Marco Silva all over it because this is how Marco Silva wants Fulham to play, with no fear at all. And I just think that we got back to it in this match. I know that Sheffield United are at the bottom of the table, but you know what? I knew that they would battle. They did battle in this match. They made it difficult for Fulham. But in the end, I think the aggressive approach from Fulham paid dividends. They scored 3 goals and they got all 3 points. That's the bottom line. So to see Fulham be more aggressive than they were against Luton Town, a similar team playing a similar formation, this was a very different game for me. So congratulations to Marco Silva, all the players, the coaching staff, everyone, because you really did what you had to do. And I think the approach from the first minute paid big results for Fulham Football Club and will help them for the rest of the season. Number one more time, Fulham's aggressive approach from the start set the tone for the entire match. And one last time, congratulations to all the supporters at Craven Cottage who saw the match. Congratulations to everyone around the world who watched and listened to the match. And that's going to do it for this episode. As you can see, I'm a happy camper today because Fulham got all 3 points. Well, that's going to do it for this quick episode of Cottage Talk. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help Fulham supporters find us. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.